All right, Soraya, this is especially for you. Soraya and I have been exchanging messages this morning as she reads or listens to each chapter. So we're going to finish chapter 28 of Poppy and Rye. Farewells. With the dam broken, the brook soon resumed its calm, meandering state. The water cleared, the waterlogged banks dried. Almost overnight, new green shoots sprang up. Lilies quickly reestablished themselves. Once again, butterflies and dragonflies danced lazily over the languid mirror surface. The beavers retreated far up the brook. No one saw anything more of them. Not their teeth, their tails, or their dams, or heard their thoughts. Within a week, Poppy and Rye were married by the mice's old nest, which, after it had dried out, had been reclaimed by Valerian and Clover. It was Valerian and Clover who, according to mouse custom, performed the marriage ceremony. Thistle and Curlydock held a canopy of wildflowers over their heads, another mouse tradition. The rest of the mouse family were in full attendance, giggling and laughing, squeaking and chatting, endlessly talking among themselves. As part of the ceremony, Rye read all 32 stanzas of his poem in praise of Poppy. She was charmed. Before the wedding took place, Poppy went to ask Aerith to be best porcupine. The old fellow, who had retreated to a clump of trees beyond the ridge, refused with surly indignation. Here's the picture. I'd rather wait here, he grumbled. It would mean so much to me if you were there, Poppy pressed. Poppy considered him carefully. Aerith, you never told me what you wanted to say back in the thicket. Forget it, he muttered. Aerith, she said, I know you don't want me to say it, but you really are the greatest and sweetest of porcupines, and the ultimate best friend to have come back. I only came because I couldn't find my way home to Dimwood Forest, Aerith sneered. I needed to get you to get me back home. But you did do good, Poppy insisted. If you hadn't come, the beavers would have won. Beavers, Aerith grumbled, bunch of furry-faced chisels. Well, Poppy said, I still wish you'd come to the wedding. And before Aerith knew what she was doing, she went up to him and kissed him on the nose. Mouth mush, Aerith muttered. As Poppy went away, he started to rub the kiss away, but suddenly changed his mind. Instead, he sat for a long while, cross-eyed, staring at his nose. Once the marriage ceremony was over, Rye announced that he and his bride would be leaving the woodlands and going to Dimwood Forest to Poppy's home. The couple invited the family to visit as often as possible and promised to return when they could. Poppy made her own goodbye. I have loved 2 of your sons, she told Valerian and Clover. What fine parents you are. We can only hope to do the same. They all hugged one another. With such a large family, it took a long time. And then, side by side, Rye and Poppy hurried up the hill. Aerith was waiting. Did you get stuck together? He asked sourly. It was a beautiful ceremony, Poppy said. I would have loved you to have been there. Love, Aerith sneered. The less said about all that slop, the better. Come on, let's go home. They started off. Early on, however, they came to the meadow where Poppy and Rye had first met and danced. Rye looked at Poppy. Poppy looked at Rye. They did not need to say a word. They held up their paws and began to dance upon the meadow. They dipped, they jumped, they swayed, they twirled and whirled. Aerith kept his distance, watched from afar. Though he tried to hide it, the old porcupine allowed himself a small, hidden smile and a tear. Catching himself, he frowned and turned his back on the dancers. Love, he complained bitterly. Nothing but slug, splat, stew, and toad jam. Phooey. But Aerith never did wash his nose. All right, that is the end of Poppy and Rye. If you're curious what's going to happen with Aerith, the next book in this series is called Aerith's Birthday. And so that might be a book that you could find, and it's a hard reading level. It has a lot of big words, as we know Avi books do, but maybe you could have an adult read it with you or an adult read it to you. My next books, I'm actually going to read two as we wrap up our year in June. I am going to read The Lemonade Crime, and I'm also going to read The Chocolate Touch. And I'm not quite sure. I'll probably read a chapter of each day, because I think some of you want to listen to The Lemonade Crime, which came after the Lemonade War. And some of you might be really interested in The Chocolate Touch, which is a great story. They're both fairly short. They're not anything as long as this. So anyway, I'll probably not read anything tomorrow on Monday, but I will get started. So thanks so much for listening. It's been the joy of my time is to find these places in my day and read to you, and to think that it somehow is kind of bringing us together. So anyway, enjoy Soraya. Bye-bye.